Hello, love bugs. Welcome back to the NOTCAST, number 405. It's 4th of September 2024. It's been about a week since I've last done one of these, and I have two reasons for that. But first and foremost, today is going to be another random record pull, this time with a slightly different bag because I can't find my Shining bag, which is a shame because it's my favourite bag. I have a favourite bag. I have a favourite hat. I've lost that. Favourite pair of trousers. It's weird, isn't it, when you have favourite things and you're like I have a favourite colour to write with. Black is my favourite colour, and I've got a fear of asymmetry, which means everything's got to be at 90-degree angles to the object that it's in. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, I realised that if I was in a band, it would be called ADHD and not ACDC. So there you are. So yeah, it's been a week since the last one, and there's been two things that's happened. The first one is my 19-year-old came to visit. Can't believe I'm dad to a 19-year-old. And hopefully he doesn't watch this, because I'm going to say something nice about him now. He's a funny, lovely man, and I love spending time with him. Really nice. Second thing that happened, and this is a great shame, is lost a member of the family on Friday night. Mog, who you will have seen in the Pulp episode and in a couple of other ones, one of the three black cats, died of kidney failure on Friday, and everyone in the house was there, and we were around her and stroking her hair, and I told her she was beautiful and that we were very, very lucky that she chose us to be her humans, and that we loved her very much and that she loved us back, and if she wanted to go, that was okay. And then she went, and she just died quietly, purring in my arms on Friday. Such a shame, but had 17 years with it, and what an incredible 17 years. God, I miss her. Anyway, on to happier stuff. We're going to do this now. We're going to talk about what's in here. So I've set the 14-year-old with his mission, as is always the case, is to find some stuff in the bags and bring it out. So this, first of all, is a tote bag for the band Cinerama, the most extraordinary other band of the semi-legendary David Gedge of The Wedding Present. And here we have three of the members of Cinerama alongside himself in a parody of, or a homage, is probably the word, to the Dr. No poster by this one designed by Lee Thwacker, who's a lovely man, actually, and we'll probably not watch this, but there you are. So let's go and have a look and see what's in here. So the rules are 1 7-inch, 1 CD, 1 DVD, 1 book, 1 LP, and let's go for the 7-inch. Okay, so this is Moby. This is Pale Horses. This is a test pressing of his 7-inch from 2009, the first single to be released from the Wait For Me album. Now, this was when Moby's albums went from selling in the millions to the hundreds of thousands to the tens of thousands to the dozen. There were not many copies of Wait For Me that sold, maybe 100,000 or something, which is obviously kind of like more than many bands would sell. But these days, people don't buy music. And Moby went through the phase of being, I think, probably regarded as a bit uncool, a bit unhip. I was going to sound so elitist when I say this. I liked him before he was really famous. You know, I liked him with Go and I Feel It, Next Is the E, those type of songs. And I've liked him since. My favourite Moby album is Animal Rights. And I've kind of thought sometimes, should I do a NOTCAST season about Moby? And then I thought, well, maybe only Moby and like 3 other people in the world will actually watch them. But we just don't know, do we? So I guess the answer is maybe to Moby. I don't know. If you have an opinion about it, sure. I've seen him many, many times, although I haven't seen him recently. But then again, he hasn't played any shows in London since 2011, although that will change in a couple of weeks. Pale Horses is the first single from the album Wait For Me, and let me quickly see if I can find Wait For Me on the shelves. Yes, here is the 2 CD and DVD edition of Wait For Me from 2010. This features the album, and it also features an ambient version of the record, bonus tracks, and a DVD with about 50 minutes of live footage, some music videos, and some documentary stuff. Again, you can pick most of these up really cheaply, actually. Pale Horses is much like a later period Motorhead album. Now, that sounds awful when I say it like that, but I don't mean it like that. What it means is, if you found a sound that resonates with who you are and it works for you, and you think, this is what I want to do, and if you can do anything you want to do, and then you suddenly find that's your sound and you want to stick to it, then, make what you are. I mean, to an extent, Moby, I think, suffered from, and suffered is probably not the word, but he experienced an eclecticism in his work. So the first album, Everything Is Wrong, everyone thought that was going to be rave, and it was a combination of all the music that he was interested in. So there was ambient rave, techno, there was a little bit of metal there in tracks like, All That I Need Is To Be Loved and What Love. His second proper studio record, Animal Rights, is a searing exorcism following a heartbreak, which, by the way, is my favourite Moby album. I absolutely love it. It's one of the best breakup albums of all time. And then, of course, there's I Like to Score, which was his third record, which was kind of a compilation. And then the fourth one was Play, which was this weird kind of relaxed, exhausted commuter rock type thing, which actually I thought was really great when it came out. And the fact that it suddenly got famous and big and popular kind of threw me completely, actually, when that happened. I was like, really? That's big now? I had no idea. So that makes me sound like old and like Grandpa Simpson, doesn't it? When I was young, I used to know what I liked, and then now what I like has changed, and now it's weird and scary. Pale Horses is the lead single from that track. This is a white label 7-inch. I don't think it was released commercially. If it was in very limited numbers of a few hundred. This is Idiot 04, so it's backed with a remix on the B-side. No idea what the remix is because I haven't listened to it for a few years. But I saw it and thought, well, okay. When I'm filling in an order on Discogs, and you kind of think, well, I want that and I'll pay that for that. But then if I put that in there, then that means that the postage is going to be X. And suddenly like a £12 record becomes an £18 record. And then you go, what else does this guy want? Because then, if he's selling that for £1, you go, well, I pay £5 for it. It suddenly becomes, instead of it being an £18 record, it then becomes a £14 record, for example. Because it then becomes much cheaper. So always think about plumping up your Discogs cart with things and see what else there is. Don't just buy like one thing, buy like 7 things from somebody if you can afford it, and they've got stuff that you like and it's affordable. So that's my route. If you're interested in hearing more about Moby, then let me know and I will do that. Right. CD time. Talking of which, I had no idea this was going to come out. Talking about this band, obviously 4 minutes ago, Motorhead's Bastards. Not my favourite Motorhead album. Again, this is very much Motorhead in their later period. They've found what they want, they've got their lineup, and they're going for it. So if I remember rightly, this is pretty much the classic lineup of Motorhead, and in my mind, the classic lineup, of course, has I think it's Phil Campbell on guitar and Mickey D on drums. That's the version that I saw. The good old-fashioned Lemmy, and I think, and let me just quickly check, Wurzel the Bastard on lead and rhythm guitar. So the 2 guitar lineup of Motorhead, which didn't last as long as you might think. Motorhead probably, and I saw a question on Reddit that said, what are the best trios of all time? And I was like, well, it's got to be Motorhead, isn't it? They're better than Rush. Sorry, people that like Rush. And Depeche Mode aren't really a trio because they just lost people over time as opposed to became a 3-legged dog to start with. I mean, obviously, if you include periods of time where bands were trios, R.E.M., Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, for example, the question becomes a lot bigger. But for me, at least, Motorhead, best trio in the world. Sorry, Rush fans. I have a lot of love for Canada, but no, Motorhead beat Rush hands down. Bastards is a good record. It's not a great record. It's got Death or Glory on it, Born to Raise Hell, and actually the surprisingly good Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me. Most people think that Motorhead lyrics are fairly dumb and stupid, but they're not. Sometimes they're very, very good. So, for example, if you look at the lyrics of "I'm Your Man," the chorus is can't see me, I'm the man, ain't no joke. Can't see me, master plan up in smoke. Can't see me, I'm the man, laid in bed. Can't see me, give a damn. Motorhead. So again, not the greatest lyrics of all time, but then when you've got something like "Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me," and whilst it's a fairly standard A-B rhyming structure, it's certainly a far more sensitive lyric than you would ever expect Motorhead to do, because you'd think that Motorhead would have just been like a gritty version of the Mac Lads with, not beer, sex, chips and gravy, but obviously with, beer, monsters, girls and Nazis, which perhaps would be, the Motorhead Lads version of the song. But Bastards, I think this is 1993. Let me just quickly check. This version says 2007, so that must be a reissue. I think this came out in 1993 on ZYX Records. ZYX have Strange label, mates, because they also did the German editions of a lot of early Pet Shop Boys singles, for example, some disco. And then all of a sudden they throw Motorhead into the mix, and there you are. So I'm just going to put this back in the shelf in between March or Die and Overnight Sensation. March or Die is 92, Overnight Sensation is 95. If I remember correctly, Overnight Sensation is the only Motorhead album not to feature the Lemster with his fantastic mutton chops on the front. So I think, 1995 it is. And Bastards was the last album that Wurzel played on of Motorhead. God knows what he's up to now. Given the average life expectancy of a Motorhead member, he's probably dead. And if you aren't, sorry, man, I don't want to make any assumptions. I wish you a long and happy life. Here we go. Blu-ray, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, which actually I haven't seen for a long time. I love my classic films. I think some of my favourite films are ones that like really, really old, actually. Fritz Lang's M, for example, is a fantastic film. I think it's not my favourite, because it's really difficult to watch, but it's his Fritz Lang's best movie. The Frankenstein, like Dracula, Nosferatu, they're ones that I think are really important to have and to have seen in your collection. I don't see it often because I don't find it particularly fun to watch. It's a difficult movie, and even though it's a PG, it's a tragedy, actually. And of course, as everyone says, the monster, Frankenstein, is the scientist. Frankenstein isn't the monster. So it's kind of like, a film about, a difficult relationship between a father and son. Perfect high-def picture, perfect high-def sound, according to Blu-ray. The extras are 4 times longer than the film, 3 hours, 27 minutes of extras, or only 1 hour, 10 minutes of actual film. I haven't seen it for a few years. I was going to watch it during lockdown, but lockdown was really, really depressing, because you spent all that time at home kind of going, well, I've finished Netflix, now what? And kind of, pulling, well, all right, if you had hair, pulling your hair out, but kind of going, well, what am I going to watch? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And then you end up kind of going, do I really want to watch Grave of the Fireflies, or Requiem for a Dream, or Nosferatu, or Frankenstein? And the answer is no. Sometimes you just had to watch Smokey and the Bandit 3 and laugh about how terrible that film is. Still, not quite as bad as Alien Romulus, which I saw recently, but that's another discussion. Maybe I'll do a ranking of the Alien films. Maybe not. Who knows? Frankenstein is a great film. It's probably out of copyright now, and therefore you can watch it for free on YouTube. And if you can't, well, you've plenty of time there. I don't want to get into spoilers, but it's an old film, and that's fine. Right, here we go. Oh, Wolf of Wall Street. I remember seeing this in the cinema in the summer of 2013 and being amazed by how good this film is. I haven't read the book. I bought it, thought I should watch the short, thought I would read it, and then I never really got round to it, actually. So I'm going to talk about the film instead, which I think is very underrated. Like Scarface, Wolf of Wall Street is a warning about arrogance and thinking that you're above the law and that somehow money will cure everything, and that there are some things that no matter how much money or power you've got, you can't escape certain unarguable facts of reality. The laws of gravity can't be avoided just because you're rich. You can fall gravity with a jet plane, but you can't fall gravity without. These are the type of things that are in Wolf of Wall Street. It's also got some amazing slapstick, actually, and I think slapstick is a really poor form of comedy overall. It's up there with jump scares as just being very narratively lazy and crappy. Flip side of that is when they are done well and correctly, slapstick is fantastic. And the scene, probably about 2/3 of the way through the movie, where I think, is it Jordan Belfort? Yeah, Jordan Belfort find some old Quaaludes which had gone a little bit wonky, didn't think they were working, took too many and started to go for a drive whilst tripping balls. It's hilarious. And also, actually, when I was watching it, and you think Martin Scorsese, he may be, I don't know how old he is now, 78, something like that. When I was watching this and I was thinking, that guy that's directing this is like 70, but he's as sharp as the sharpest, smartest child in the room, in so much as he still had that sense of joy and wonder, and leaning into the silliness that went with it. Even though you might think, oh right, okay, so if you're going to be making a movie about this and you are, let's say, in your 60s or 70s, you're going to have to be boring and mature. And no, actually, this is a film about human stupidity, silliness, and arrogance, and it's a great film. It is not for the weak of heart. It is both swear-tastic, with a lot of fuckonomics, and probably very violent, very gratuitous. Probably its nearest spiritual kind of relative is the excess of Scarface, but without the grim undertone that leaps through every shot of Brian De Palma's Scarface, which I'm a huge fan of as well. So right, let's see what else we've got in here. We've got a DVD. I think this is, okay, you know what it is and I don't, but I'm reading the back. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, Steve Martin. Oh yes. So as I will have said earlier when I was talking about El Frankenstein, is I love classic movies, and I think this is a film that's done a really great little trick, in so much as repurposing footage from old movies, shooting new material, and then intersplicing it together. Really interesting idea. Also used by, I can't remember it now. There's a Terence Stamp movie where he plays an old man and they use flashbacks, possibly The Limey, but I don't think it is, where they use flashbacks from one of his 60s movies, and it works perfectly through the choice of shots. Really clever stuff. And I think Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid is Steve Martin was really, really good at comedy up to a certain point. I think The Jerk was questionable. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid was fantastic. The Man with Two Brains is brilliant. Some of the other stuff, Free Amigos, for example. But then it went into the schmaltzy bit. And you think, if you're an actor and suddenly you start to go schmaltzy and do kid-friendly films, Vin Diesel in The Pacifier, for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jingle All the Way, although I do love Jingle All the Way. I think it's a very good movie with a fantastic MacGuffin. There's the other one, isn't there, where he's the cop, Kindergarten Cop. Not good. Stallone in Stop or My Mum Will Shoot. When you start to do films like that and you start to go, yeah, you've lost it really a little bit. So where, for example, Steve Martin started to do stuff like Father of the Bride, and you kind of go, you're just doing sentimental old tosh now. You've lost the thing that made you great, or maybe you were great by accident and you didn't realise that you weren't anymore. Which is one of the reasons why I really don't like Christmas albums, even the Flaming Lips Christmas album, because I'm going, it's a novelty. It's not an artistic statement, which is necessarily super, super sincere. It's more like watching somebody going, well, I guess this is the thing I'll do, and I'll do a Christmas one, and people like Steve Martin, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Vin Diesel, they kind of go, well, I guess I'll do a film about cops looking after children because I need to broaden my base or whatever. No, you don't. Sometimes you don't. It's very good that Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme never did a movie called, My Teacher, the Cop, or whatever it's called. So this is the last of the LPs. This is the LP. This is LCD Sound System's American Dream from 2010. I haven't yet put it into a gatefold sleeve. I love LCD Sound System because they're tired and they remind me of me. Now, you might think, oh, look, well, there's a high amount of beards in a built-up area and a significant amount of baldness going on in that band. But also at the same point, as a band, LCD Sound System were born old, if that makes sense. So I think when he made the LCD Sound System, I think James Murphy was like 30, 31. So he had that sense of not growing up in public, but arriving fully formed and mature, which actually makes for music with longevity. Same thing with Carter USM, because they've been trying to be successful for a while, made records before. So by the time they got to making albums, they were like, 29, 30, something like that. And people think that's quite old. But at the same point, what it means is you're experienced, you're mature, you've got some real life experience under your belt. You're not necessarily thinking that it is completely normal to throw a television out of a room, or to take a limo driven chauffeur to an arena, and to go, well, actually some days at work I was like a coffee barista or something. Really important to have those experiences of reality and the real world. Otherwise you end up writing concept albums about sad tigers for Disney. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Phil Collins. Or, as I said, doing like Christmas films, or films that are geared and aimed towards talking about, Kindergarten Cop and stuff like that. And I just sit there and go, you can do anything you wanted, and you want to do Kindergarten Cop, really? I mean, families are great, cats are great, kids are great, but do you have to put movies in them? Sometimes we want to get away from things. An American Dream is the most recent studio album by LCD Sound System, a staggering 7 years ago, which is the same length of time between their penultimate album, This Is Happening. I just need to check that that's on the shelf. Yep, This is Happening, and this. And American Dream I really, really like, I really rate. It's mature, it's got some really interesting ideas in it, and it has that kind of that sense of I don't quite know how to describe it. It's got that sense of growing older, but not getting flaccid or diluting what you're doing. And yeah, the lyrics are good. They're not great. The American Dream kind of refers to obviously the failure of the American Dream. So at the time it was released, 2017, America had elected the Cheeto Hitler, President Trump, and had so what you were seeing is almost someone trying to dismantle the American Dream in front of your very eyes. And this album is, I think, a bit of a response to it. So it was produced and recorded between 2015 and 2017. At that point, James Murphy had worked with David Bowie for a bit, but decided to move away from that on the grounds that he thought he was diluting the powers, so to speak, which is in the Black Star and Next Day kind of episodes, and went back to being an LCD. And it's some really interesting ideas in here. I really like it as a record. I think of it as an album, a complete experience, as opposed to some bands where you kind of think, well, I'll just take like, one song and or I'll just take one thing, and then the album is filler. Now, if you ever, in the days of CDs, if you ever remember that far back, you'd buy the album and actually you'd only want the single. You wouldn't want the other stuff off the album. And then you'd realise that the album that you bought only had one good song on it. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Ball Breaker by AC/DC. Yes, I am. But you'd listen to that and you kind of go, okay. Whereas this is not made, there's not filler on LCD Sound System albums. They just don't put them out if they don't think they're good enough. And actually it stands, all of their records are solid, great experiences. Really like this band, but I have to, because I am a man of advancing years with no hair and a beard. It's practically in the tap water and in a work of parliament or an act of parliament that I have to like LCD Sound System, because they're tired in the way I'm tired. And I've seen them, and I'd like to thank the security at Alexandra Palace for completely ruining the gig by interrupting me during the climax of the last song, All My Friends. I was like, dude, if you leave it 2 bars, the whole gig is over and I'm going to be leaving. But no, they had to interrupt me during the last 2 bars, the emotional crescendo of the show. Thanks, mate. You and your high-vis yellow jacket spoilt my buzz. And that's the thing I remember about seeing LCD Sound System. It was not how good it was, not how pleasurable it was, not how nice it was as to be in the same room as lots of people with the same taste as me. It was the guy tapping me on the shoulder at the end of All My Friends and asking me if I might want to move out of the way, at which point I was like, it's nearly finished, is what I remember saying. And then, 8 seconds later, the song was over and I went home. So, LCD Sound System, one of the great American bands, and I love them to bits. I wish they'd do more music, because as far as I'm concerned, music is the thing that will last. People, they might remember tours, but they won't remember that. If you're going, well, what is it that when you want to relive LCD Sound System or whoever, it's nothing here but the recordings, as William Burroughs said, which is why I think acts should make more music and release more music. Yeah, there's no money in it, but there's a longevity in that, as opposed to just travelling the world in a bus and playing songs that people know. Is make and record the songs anyway. Some bands are focused on merchandise. If you're Metallica, you're probably into Funko Pop versions of dead bass players or whatever, and I find that kind of merchandising really, really distasteful. To me, the main, even if music itself is merchandise, then sell the music. Don't sell action figures, t-shirts, even though I'm wearing a lot of band t-shirts, shorts or whatever. Don't do that, or your own whiskey. Focus on making music, and everything else is secondary. All other priorities rescinded, as Ash says in Alien. So, with that in mind, that was my random record Russian roulette for today, and I am going to wrap up here. And thank you if you've watched this for making it 25 minutes in to hear me wibble on about stuff. Next one will be themed about an album. I have plenty of ideas, and I do have thoughts on the Oasis reunion, but I will get to that in the near future. And in the meantime, of course, take care of yourselves and each other. As Jerry Springer said, if you love someone, tell them before it's too late, as Alan Fluff Freeman would say, and stay beautiful, beautiful ones. See you soon. Bye.